almost every day. Makes me wanna holler, go away. I need more peace and hope and love. Where do I find it in this crazy old world? Need strategies, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I got strategies for living, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
Oh yeah, you know we need them. We need those strategies, don't we? Those strategies for living.
As long as we're living.
Yeah, and I think we are. Are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab? Well, here we are. It's called Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian. She is psychotherapist. PLPC Lauren Leon McMillian. I love the word resilient.
Yes.
I love the way it sounds. I love the way it feels. Mm-hmm. I just love the word.
Yeah, it's a good word.
Yeah.
And it, breaks down to bounce back. Yeah.
Resilient.
Resilience.
When you first look at the word,
mm-hmm.
it almost looks like, if you look at it real quickly,
mm-hmm.
like silent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what that means, but
Well, I mean, when you say it like that, it makes me think of, the return to the quiet before the Big Bang, perhaps. The bouncing back to going back to where we've come.
We certainly want to be physically resilient. Mm-hmm. The more physically resilient we are, likely the more healthy we are. But even more than physically resilient, Lauren, I vote for mental resilience.
Absolutely.
I recently read an article. It was online. It was written by Melody Glass fairly recently. And the title of the article is, "If you have experienced these things by 60, you're more mentally resilient than 97% of the population."
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she points out that we tend to think of resilience as, some kind of intangible superpower mm-hmm. that only a few of us have. But in reality,
no, it's inherent in our being.
Yeah, we build resilience through everyday challenges. And the bigger the challenge, the sturdier that resilience really kind of gets over time. So we're going to consider the things that she proposes. I don't know if you'll agree with all of them, but we're going to discuss them
all right
today on Strategies for Living. Folks, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being with us in our conversation. We love doing this program for you each day, and we can do it because of our wonderful sponsors, the Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX, and the Balanced Life Wellness Center, and Fertitta's Delicatessen. That'll be the home of the Godfather, alligator Italian sausage, and some pretty good muffies, too. We'll be back to talk about mental resilience today here on Strategies. Stay with us.
Tune in daily, find the light. Healthy mind and spirits bright. Strategies for living strong. Feel the vibe, it won't go wrong. Body moves and soul align. Catch the rhythm, feel the time. Radio rehab every day. Chase those clouds of gray away. Your daily dose of radio rehab. Lift you up when skies seem trapped. Mind and body, spirits free. Living life in harmony.
Hey, welcome in. Welcome into Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian. She is psychotherapist, PLPC Lauren Leon McMillian. We are talking about resilience today, specifically mental resilience. I think if you have mental resilience, and I read this article by Melody Glass, which she says, if you've experienced these things by the time you're 60, then you are 97% more mentally resilient.
Okay.
Than most
I'd
of
be
the
interested
other
in where she got her stats, but
I don't know, but we can talk about that as we go along. I don't know why she's picking on a 60-year-old, so 60 plus.
Yeah.
I'd have to add a few years to that, but from reading the article from the perspective, Lauren, of being 68 years old. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't even feel right when I say that.
Right.
It's got, and that maybe I hope that's part of resilience. Maybe I hope that's part of mental resilience, because even though some days I feel more 60 plus than other days, here recently I've had a little minor back issue. Actually, it's a knee issue. Mm-hmm. The pain's in the knee, but it's my back goes out of whack, and so anytime you have pain for a day or two, kind of makes you look at things, right?
Sure.
And thank goodness for mental resilience. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was really down for. I felt it for about a day and a half, 2 days maybe, max. And then I think I told you, I woke up one Saturday morning and I said, I'm going to go do this. Mm-hmm. And we went and did it, and I'll be dadgum.
Right. Yeah.
Helped it.
It's your ability to kind of, to bounce back, right? To be able to say, yeah, okay, I recognize that you may have gotten in that spiral of, oh, I'm feeling old, and what does this mean? And I don't know where else I'm going to...
I think a lot of us get in that. I think, we work with a young man. And we work with a young man routinely that is 15 years old. And sometimes, he talks himself into the resilience of about an 80-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know people like this, and I know people like this.
Well, and I would argue with that, because I don't want to tie resilience to age. I mean, I know it's kind of an age.
I don't want to tie it to age either. That's the whole point. I want to tie it to, and I think that's where Melody Glass is onto something, because it's about the mental. It's about the mental. How do I approach the mental side of life, right?
Right. Well, the ability to flex, to be able to say, step back and recognize that the world that I'm interacting with is the world I'm interacting with because of the way I'm thinking about it.
Right.
Because of the perspective I have.
Right.
And so really inherent to the idea of resilience, which is the ability to bounce back, is the ability to step back first and see from a different perspective so that you can bounce forward into the place that you want to go. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. We're always talking to our young men that we mentor about the importance of what you believe. Mm-hmm. And we are creators, and if you believe something to be so, for instance, I can't do that math problem that you just put in front of me. Right. I can't read this paragraph and then summarize for you what it's about. And if I tell myself I can't, guess what?
Yeah.
You can't. But if you tell yourself, okay, it's possible. I mean, so you don't even have to go to can.
Right. No, you can just
you don't have to go from can to can. You can just go neutral. Yeah.
Add yet.
Yeah.
I
can't do this yet.
Yeah.
But I'm open to the possibility of being able to do it and learning how to do it, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that Melody Glass says is, she says, if you've lived through certain experiences, by the time you're 60, then she makes the case that there's a strong case that your mental resilience is off the charts. And, she says, I've always been fascinated by how people adapt, especially as we age, as we get older. Some find ways to navigate difficult situations with a lot of grace, and so much so that it's inspiring.
Yes.
It's inspiring to watch. But others of us get stuck. We get stuck, and we get into a pain cycle. We get into reliving a cycle of pain and regret. So, if we're looking for a little insight, then let's look at and consider some of what she says. Okay, well, if you've lived through these, you're probably pretty resilient. The first one that she comes up with is that you've faced major heartbreak or loss. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So she says everybody experiences heartbreak at some point.
Yes.
Whether that's the end of a relationship, it could be the death of a loved one, could even be
it's part of life.
Losing a cherished friendship.
As long as we are here in form and loving and forming loving relationships with each other, we're going to experience what we as humans call heartbreak, right? Because all relationships, as we often talk about, you and I, they're going to end in death or divorce.
My first co-host on this radio program,
exactly,
the late Dr. Bob Roush, who he would say things, and he said it many times on the radio, and when he'd say it, sometimes it would make would set me on edge, and I'd clench my teeth because because I didn't want to accept it. But he would say all relationships end by death or divorce.
Right.
Now, of course, he was talking about physical relationships, earthly relationships, right?
Exactly. Yes.
But the longer you live, the more that you understand, well, that's true. I mean, all relationships are going to end.
As we know them.
As we know them.
As we experience them.
They're going to...
even if we're in a relationship with someone for a long period of time, say over 7, over 10, over 20 years, I would argue that even in that relationship, it's going to end and begin again, It's going to be rebirthed as long as you're in the relationship, because both people are changing and evolving. And so the relationship itself also changes and evolves. Yeah.
The article says, here's the thing about heartbreak. Heartbreak isn't just about sorrow.
No.
It's also about how we rise up.
Yes.
One
of the imageries that I like about heartbreak, is that when you imagine something is breaking, it's opening up. And I really...
That's true with you and me. That's true with our relationship. You came into this iteration. I mean, I've known you since you were very young.
Yes.
But this iteration, you came into my life at a point where... I wasn't worth a whole lot to myself or anybody else,
Yeah.
Now I was putting on a good face, right? I was giving the old college try.
But you were in a period of heartbreak.
I was in a period of brokenness, of heartbreak.
Yeah.
And I couldn't know then that,
And to be fair, so was I.
Yeah. And I couldn't know then that, you were an answer to prayers. I mean, I was praying for one thing, and I certainly got what I was praying for, just not with who I thought I was going to get it with, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, sometimes we have to be open to the surprises of life, right?
Yeah. And
we don't know what we don't know.
And if we allow it, the heartbreaks in our life truly do open us up to more fuller experiences of life, because you can't know a deeper love until you've known the depths of sorrow, right? It's part of our experience in this dualistic world. You often can't have one without the other, right? And what it does is it pushes open the frame for larger and fuller experience of life. And so if we allow ourselves to really experience even the full sorrow, the full pain of heartbreak, what that does, that's an opportunity, a huge opportunity for growth, and as the author says, for resilience. That's what that is.
When we're forced to pick up the pieces of life after some deep emotional pain, you can learn skills. And some of the skills that you can learn, well, certainly problem solving under stress, but also self-compassion. And those things, self-compassion and problem solving when you're under stress, that sticks with you. That stays with you. And that's resilience.
Right.
Because again, as we are arguing, you live long enough, you're going to experience not just one, but probably multiple times.
And I hope you're able
broken open
to get to a point where you can look back and be very grateful for each and every heartbreak and for the lessons that came from it.
I would even go as far as to say, whether we know it or not, that's one of the reasons that we're here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
We're talking about resilience today, specifically emotional resilience. We'll keep the conversation going with you right here on Strategies for Living. So don't go away. Come back with us.
From the bayou to your table, we're keeping it alive with flavors from the family passed down to survive. The Godfather's here with a twist in the tail. Alligator, Italian sausage, and it sure won't fail. It's the boss of the bayou, a taste you can't refuse. Italian tradition, Cajun infused. Godfather sausage, bold and true. The Padres bringing the bayou to you.
Get the Godfather Alligator Italian Sausage only at Fertitta's Delicatessen, 1124 Fairfield Avenue in Shreveport. Pick up a muffy while you're there. The Godfather Alligator Italian Sausage. It's a taste you can't refuse. Sold only at Fertitta's, 1124 Fairfield Avenue in Shreveport. Dealing with stress, pain, feel like you're running out of options? When your life is balanced, wellness is a given. True wellness is holistic. It's about the mind, the body, and the spirit, all in balance. Now, there's a place right here in Shreveport that's all about helping us achieve peak mental, emotional, and physical health. The Balanced Life, 117 Kings Highway, right next door to Strawn's. Come see and feel the difference getting your life in balance can be. Many of your friends and neighbors have already learned the difference less stress and pain mean in their lives. You can book a discovery session right now online, thebalancedlife.us. All you've got to lose is stress, pain, or maybe both. Come see and feel for yourself the real difference balanced wellness makes. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, 117 Kings Highway in Shreveport, next door to Strawn's. Thebalancedlife.us.
So now let's take a ride. Healthy mind and heart open wide. Every step with spirit as our guide. Here on Strategies for Living. Mind, body, spirit, and the groove. Relationships smooth as ocean waves. that make you feel alive. In every truth and every deal, we help you thrive, not just survive. Mind, body, spirit in the groove, relationships.
And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for a Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian. We're talking about if you've experienced the things that we're discussing today, and the article that we're referencing says if we've experienced the things by 60 years old, then we're more mentally resilient than 97% of the population. First one we talked about is facing major heartbreak and loss. The next one that Melody Glass talks about is overcoming a career or financial setback. This is, I mean, really, if you've lived long enough, how many of us have not experienced, we've lost a job that we loved, or we found ourselves in dire financial straits. I don't know, I've got all these things, that obligations that I have, these bills to pay. I don't know, the money in the bank account doesn't add up
right.
to this amount. So maybe we started a business that and it just didn't make it. We thought it was a great idea at the time. We did our best. Maybe we've opened our retirement fund and it wasn't as secure as we think we want it to be. Right. I mean, there's a lot of ways that this can express itself.
Sure.
But I've told this on the radio before. I've been fired from one job in my life, and it was from the radio station that I helped found.
Right.
And I won't go into the long story, but that, if you had encountered me in the 80s, particularly the mid 80s, we started the radio station KBKI in 1983.
Yeah.
And we owned it until 1986. And then I continued to work there. Part of the deal was, that we continue on. And so, if you had encountered me back then and you asked me, what will I be doing in 2020, 2025, 2030, I would have told you, well, I'll be in some form of broadcasting. I'll be in some form of radio broadcasting. Well, and I guess that's true.
To be fair, yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, that's true.
You still got your toe in the water there.
But that firing, being fired from the radio station that I helped, give birth to, did something which led me to look at everything. Yeah. Reconsider everything. That led me back to graduate school and into a career of 30 plus years in counseling.
Right.
And best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, I agree.
And now, I, as you just pointed out, I found a way to still, continue on in some form of radio. But, being willing to, to take a look at.
Well, it's to wrestle with it and to look at, okay, maybe what lesson is here for me? Where am I being redirected to towards?
Yeah, and it's not always it wasn't a smooth thing for me. It wasn't a smooth transition for me. I had a lot of self-doubt.
Sure.
I didn't know, income was fine for a little while, but I didn't know how long that would be. In other words, we've all kind of had the experience of having the rug pulled out from under us in some sense, financially or career-wise, right? And by navigating through that, the willingness to navigate through that, you gain a lot of tools. You gain budgeting skills. You can gain negotiation tactics. You can gain perseverance. You can gain the ability to see beyond a temporary setback and to realize it's all temporary.
Right. All of it.
All of it. Yeah. Every bit of it is temporary.
Right.
Now our ego tries to convince us otherwise, but it's all temporary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another thing that the author mentions is navigating a serious health challenge.
Mm.
Yeah. Health scares. And it could be, this could be your own, but it also could be somebody that you love.
Right. Right. Vicarious experience.
Yeah. And those can be some of life's most terrifying moments.
It's coming face to face with mortality. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be on the brink of death. But
it puts it in front of you.
Yeah, it puts it right in center.
Hospital waiting rooms and waiting for tests and waiting for the results and it's really kind of the uncertainty, right?
Right.
It's the what if, and that takes a mental toll and it takes an emotional toll, right?
And it gives you the opportunity to really grapple with. What is physical? What does it mean to be physical? What does this body mean to me?
Yeah.
And what do I want to do with this gift? Yeah. I mean, because it truly is a gift.
It truly is.
I mean, and once you wrestle with that and you really realize that, man, I mean, then you can start to live.
Yeah. Yeah. The researchers at the American Psychological Association basically have done some studies about resilience, and they point out that resilience stems from strong social ties and a sense of purpose, both of which can become clear when your health is kind of on the line.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, And so.
Well, and that makes sense because when you are faced with some sort of health crisis, how many times do people rally around? I mean, we start food chains. We offer, how can we help you? Because we recognize that you're in a weak moment. And so.
We start food chains. We start prayer chains. We start all kinds of chains.
Support chains.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's in our nature.
Yeah.
And really what that's saying, if you listen, is it's saying
maybe that's when we're at our best. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and we're recognizing that we're all one. We're all part of the same group. I mean, if one of us is hurting, we all hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you manage a health crisis, when you go through any kind of health crisis, it kind of forces you to confront what are your priorities?
Yeah. Who do I have to support me when I am in a weak moment?
Yeah, and so it invites us to reevaluate our lifestyle and maybe develop a level of endurance, particularly emotional endurance.
Yeah.
That perhaps a lot of people don't tap into unless they've been through something similar. Right?
Yeah. I mean, when you reach a certain point that it's a health crisis, that's your body's scream of saying, hey, I really need some attention.
Yeah.
And if you take the opportunity to tune in and to give the body the attention that it is asking for,
right,
you begin what can be a lifelong relationship. And you get to define that. How your relationship with your body and how you want that to look like. Because whether we want to think about it or not, the body is the vessel through which we experience all. And so how are you caring for it?
It's the tabernacle
it is.
For our spirit.
Truly.
And tabernacle is it's a Catholic word. I suppose there's tabernacles probably in the Lutheran Church and in the Episcopal Church, but in the Catholic tradition, because of transubstantiation, what they put in the tabernacle is considered precious.
Yeah, it's considered the body of Christ, right?
Yeah. So if you consider that we are at our soul level, at our being
we
level.
are the body of Christ.
We are the body, the spirit, our soul, our spirit.
Yes.
Then this body is a tabernacle.
Absolutely.
You know, how many churches would you go into and ever expect to find the tabernacle? You know, broken
and on the floor
and rusty and filthy on the
filled
outside.
With
no
drugs.
No, what do? They polish it. They keep it clean. They keep it, spick and span. That's a lesson for us, even if we don't ever go into a church, knowing that's a symbolic lesson for, okay, how are we maintaining this body?
Yes.
Which is the tabernacle for our spirit, for our soul.
Right.
And, it forces us to ask that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good question to ask.
It is.
So we're considering today the resilience, and specifically mental resilience. And I would argue, Lauren, that if we, no matter what is going on manifesting right now physically, if we work on our mental resilience, there's nothing that we can't heal.
And I would argue there's nothing more important to work on right now than mental emotional resilience.
Yeah, because we never know what tomorrow's going to bring. In our own personal lives or in the collective. And this is not, I don't want to scare any of us.
There's a lot stirring out there.
It's just a reality in our own lives of we don't know what's coming tomorrow. So it's a good idea to become more mentally resilient. Talking about it today, right here on Strategies for Living. And we've got more. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center. I say it a lot. There's no place like the Robinson.
Absolutely, there is not.
617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. You've got so much. You got the movies. You got Abby Singer's Bistro on the second floor of RFC, open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Saturday.
Newly remodeled.
Absolutely. Great menu. RobinsonFilmCenter.org is the way you check it all out. You can go to RobinsonFilmCenter.org at any time and find out what movies are showing. Here's the deal. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. When you become a member, you become a star. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street in downtown Shreveport. I'll say it again. There's no place like the Robinson.
There is not, and I'm glad we have one right here.
Absolutely. The RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning RX Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, Learning RX Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning RX Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does Learning RX Shreveport.
Facing the same old problems day to day makes you wanna holler, get away. Looking for the road that'll get me there. Looking for hope and peace to spare. Looking for strategies for leaving radio.
And you found them. Yeah, you found a little dose of radio rehab. We call it Strategies for Living. Glad you're here with us. We're talking about mental resilience today. We're talking about things, if you've experienced some of the things we're talking about today, by the time you're 60 years old, you're probably more mentally resilient than 97% of the population.
Right.
I don't know where she got that.
That's a large claim.
That's a pretty big number. But
these are just strategies for resilience. That's what I would lean on.
So anyway, the next thing she brings up is that you've had to rebuild your life. You've had to start over. You know, Life hands us situations sometimes that there's nothing else to do but a complete reset, right?
Right.
And so it could be having to move to a new city. It could be, I got to leave this toxic relationship or toxic environment, or I've got to step away from a long-term relationship. And so if
giving up an addiction, starting over.
Yeah. Well, that's a relationship, isn't it?
Sure, absolutely.
We form, one of the things about an addiction to a person or to a substance is we've got a relationship with that. And so, if you've ever experienced a big reset, then you've likely learned how to deal with the discomfort that comes with uncertainty, right?
Right.
So when you let's say you move physically, maybe move to a new city, everything's new. The neighbors, the routine, the commuting to work, everything. And so you have to build a fresh support system. You might have other things that you don't stop juggling. Right. Maybe you're a parent, right? Maybe your career, maybe that hasn't changed. You're still juggling that. And at the same time, you're having to start over in a way. And that can be daunting.
Sure. But
it can also be, a very important way to nurture adaptability. Life from the very beginning, from the conception, when sperm meets egg, there are two processes that have to happen in order for that fetus to continue to develop until birth. And one of them is integration.
Yep.
I've got to take in new things.
Yep.
And at the same time, perhaps just as important, is adaptability. So the ability to integrate, the process of integration and the process of adapting, probably no more important thing that, we can learn in our life and commit to ongoing than adaptation and integration.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you started that by saying we come into life literally with no other choice, to continue life than if we integrate and adapt. And then you come back and say it's no more important thing to learn. And I might wonder, is it really something we need to learn or something we need to remember to allow?
So remember.
Right.
In other words, you're saying, okay, well, you got it. You know this.
It's inherent.
It's deep down in your DNA.
Because as you say, if we made it into form, if we made it, and we're able to communicate, you're listening, okay, you've made it past the zygote stage and the infancy stage. You've made it through a lot of life. And through all of those stages, you've had to integrate and adapt, whether you are aware or consciously recognize that or not. Yeah. Right?
And the more conscious awareness you have of it, the more you can use and make it, it's going to help you anyway. But the more conscious you remain of it, the faster. It's like working out double time, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And I have to wonder aloud if it's not just something that gets in our way, our memories, our traumas, the things that happen to us that suddenly we become stuck, right? Or we think we're stuck and therefore we are.
We're never really stuck, but we can convince ourselves that we are.
Right. Because if we don't allow ourselves to feel and to move through, if we don't allow ourselves to adapt and integrate, then we won't be able to continue.
Another thing that the article points out is you've taken a stand for your values, even when it's tough. Have you ever found yourself in a moral dilemma where, if you do the right thing, it's going to cost you. It may cost you comfort. It may cost you a friendship. It may cost you money.
Yep.
And if you've made that difficult decision based on your core principles, and you've had to do that the article author says, by the time you're 60 years old, then she argues you've likely developed a strong internal compass. And I think I think she's right on that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Another thing that she mentions is that you've learned to embrace solitude rather than fear it. And she points out solitude has a bad rap, especially in our hyper-connected world. But true resilience shines when you can find peace with yourself. So that means peace with your own company.
Right.
And if you can do that, it may take a while, but if you can do that by the time you're 60, and be okay.
Yes.
You're building resilience. Last but not least, you've learned to forgive yourself.
Ooh.
And others.
Okay. Yep.
And others.
Yeah.
Now, it's
one
important.
Sponsors the other.
One does. I mean, if you can forgive yourself, most of the time our unforgiveness is not really, we're not willing to forgive others. If we really look at it and if we really dig deep, it's really about forgiving ourselves.
Right.
So if we can forgive ourselves, there's nobody else in our lives
that we can't forgive. Yeah.
It may, it may take some work, and it may take really, being willing to dig down and understand what forgiveness really is. And it's a choice and a decision,
right,
sometimes that we make over and over and over. And it's about liberating. It's about liberating ourselves. It's a mental shift.
Yes.
And a decision. And so, it's if you've really figured that out by the time you're 60 years old, you got some resilience on board.
Yeah.
That's a key. Talking about mental resilience today. I can't overemphasize the importance that mental resilience brings to our lives in terms of ability to live peacefully and joyfully and freely.
It's in the word itself. Bounce forward.
Yeah.
It's about living forward.
There you go. We'll be back here on Strategies for Living. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof? And welcome back. Welcome back.
into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillian, David McMillian, and delighted that we can be with you to talk about things that maybe you don't, conversations that maybe you don't have with anybody else. I'm glad you're having them with us today.
They're important.
Today's conversation on mental resilience, the importance of mental resilience. What are you taking away from our conversation today, Lauren?
Just that I think if you're in any way living, really truly engaging in living life, you can't help but encounter many of the things that we've talked about today.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where she got her stats, but my takeaway is that we're going to encounter these things. And for me, it's about how are you encountering them and what are you allowing that to transform within you?
Mm.
Are you allowing it to resilience?
It's going to create something.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the question is, what are you wanting to create within yourself?
And what are you choosing to take from it?
Right.
Are you choosing to allow it to springboard you forward in the sense of resilience, or is it holding you back, and is it something that you need to look at before you are able to then spring forward?
Yeah. And and that life brings lots of opportunities to us.
Oh, all the time.
And puts lots of opportunities in front of us.
In the oddest of situations,
absolutely.
Right? Not how we expect them to go more often.
Sometimes very much unexpected. And the question is,
how are you using it?
What are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
And that's mental resilience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you for tuning in. And we appreciate our sponsors making it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX, and the Balanced Life Wellness Center, and Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of the Godfather, Alligator Italian Sausage, and some pretty good muffies too. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call, and what would you say? Why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillian, I'm David McMillian. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.